Masauti from Kenya and Lava Lava from Tanzania with the Dondosha. And it's exactly 21 minutes past 11 a.m. And I hope you guys are having a better Wednesday morning than me. Si kuchelewa kazi, si mvua kunyesha, si KPLC kuanua stima, ndo stima yao isinyeshewe tafadhali. What is going on in the country? And our president is no longer here, even the first lady as well. They are in Beijing, China. And coming right up is Mvua by Malindi, and it's Malindi by Mvua, okay? Then So Alive by Sage featuring Octopi, I-double-Z-O, and welcome in the AM with Atieno right here on Baze Radio, where Kenya's culture comes alive. This show airs every single day from 8 a.m. up until 12 noon, and today I've got one entertainment heavyweight. He's a filmmaker and also a producer. I'm talking about Philip Bresson. If you are a lover of social media, Instagram, TikTok, you have definitely bumped into him. If you are also a lover of Kenyan films from as early as 2010, ikikuwa class 6, I am talking about Changing Times. That is Philip Bresson, who is also the founder of Insignia Productions. He is a genius, has directed over 10 projects from the award-winning, once again, Changing Times, to My Two Wives, which actually nabbed 2 Kalasha Awards, and now he is behind the Chocolate Empire's gritty Nairobi drama. And fun fact about Philip Bresson, he is a mystery offset and also shaped by the creative, I hope I can pronounce this correctly, Ekole Freinet. Right? Is that a proper introduction? I should get deeper into
I love it. I was like, oh, whoa.
What is going on?
I love it.
Karibu sana. Good morning.
Morning.
How is life? Maisha nakupeleka aje tafadhali?
Man, this year has been a roller coaster of just a lot of crazy, amazing things. I've learned new things in my life.
Okay.
And we've also had a lot of great success. So I'm very happy for that.
Oh, karibu sana.
But then also you just doing the intro and then hearing all these things, yes. I'm like, oh man, it's so much stuff.
It's a lot, done, and I haven't even mentioned like zingine hata watu wajui. Ni chini ya maji that I'll mention later when. So let's talk about your career and your background a little bit, right? Yeah. You've been a very key significant figure in the production industry,
yes,
and also the film industry as well for over 18 years.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, 18 years. That's crazy. Yes. With notable works like Single Kiasi, that is Filmax, and also Changing Times.
Yes.
So could you share how your journey in filmmaking began and basically what inspired you to pursue this path?
Well, the funny thing is I started off as a music producer.
Okay.
I was very into music, but then there was room for, back then, it was only the beat that was on.
Yeah.
So for you to get your musicians' music played, you had to have a music video.
Yeah.
So then I was like, where do I get music videos done? And it was very expensive. So I had to learn how to shoot and edit music videos, and that's how I got into the film industry.
Oh, that is really quite interesting.
So self-taught in a way, and then started hooking up with other creatives and started doing support work for other creatives, and then that's how I ended up getting into TV.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is quite interesting. Now you have a mantra. Normal is boring.
Yes.
100%. And you go ahead and tackle controversial topics like widow inheritance in My Two Wives.
Yes.
And also Nairobi sponsors cultures in socialites.
Yes.
So I would love to know, right? Your work thrives on chaos and controversy, like from My Two Wives to the Chocolate Empire. It has some really steamy scenes that we're going to talk about later on.
Yes.
So how do you decide which taboo topics to tackle? And how do you balance pushing boundaries with ensuring your stories resonate with the Kenyan audience?
So I say this a lot when we go pitch for stuff, right? Content is about trends.
Okay.
You have to even just like you and your social media, you have to look at what's trending, what are people feeling right now.
Yeah.
And that's how we treat what we come up with in terms of stories.
Okay.
So when we figure out this is what the trend is, this is where the world is, then we are like, okay, let's do stories based on that, and that's how we ensure success with our projects.
Okay.
Most of our projects, when we do them, we minimum do 4 seasons, 5 seasons, 6 seasons. So that has definitely been one of the reasons why we move the way we move. But then also tackling risque type of controversial stories, I'd say the thing about that is just very simple. I've done this for such a long time.
Okay.
At some point, I got bored
of
doing the normal Kenyan content that we were used to doing. I mean, the scenes where you're like, okay, we're in love, but we don't show kissing, we don't show touching. In fact, I was working with a European director who came and was with us for like a season of one of the shows that we're shooting. I think it was Prem or something. And so, he looks at the scene and it's written, so the characters kiss at the end of the scene. And then he sees the way I directed the scene and it's like, but there's no kiss at the end of the scene.
Yeah.
And he asks me, so is this normal for you guys? Is this your culture? I'm like, I mean, behind the scenes, we'd be like throwing it up and doing all these things. But for TV, we can't really show. So I've come from that era of Ezekiel but with art we always have to keep pushing the boundaries and we have to tell stories as how they really happen.
Okay.
So it's not just being able to do sex stories or nudity or things like that. It's also a thing of if we tap into a gangster story, we tell it as it is. And that's yes, and that's why on Cash Money, when we're telling the stories on Cash Money, the deaths that happened on the show were shot the way they were shot. There was blood and heads exploding and eyes.
In the beginning.
Yes. So
season ingine by whether you guys need to stop doing that, where you produce like a season, then munapotea, you're telling us after 1 year you're going to be coming back. Now I have to rewatch the entire season again, then get into season 2.
Netflix is a different ball game for now, but they're just trying to get their footing in and they're trying to figure themselves out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about your trending, when you come back though, about Chocolate Empire, which is a Kenyan remake of the South African soap Naitwa Rockville.
Yes.
And I'd love to know, what was the biggest challenge in making Nairobi's elite, like underworld, feel authentic?
The biggest challenge was the world.
Okay.
Yeah, we had to create the world, and then we also had to cast the chocolates. The chocolates had to be the right ones.
Yeah.
So I remember it took us like maybe 6 months to get the world right, and finally we were able to get the right location, which was Hilton. We wanted to shoot at another location called Glee, but then we couldn't get the location. But finally getting the world right and then getting the chocolates and casting the right talent for the chocolates, that made everything just come out the way it should have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when we come back after this short musical break, I'd love for us to talk about working and collaborating with actors like Jimmy Gathu, who's supposed to be here in the next few minutes.
Yeah.
So we are going to get deeper into that in the next few minutes. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions regarding production, regarding Chocolate Empire, regarding even Philip Bresson himself, let me know via 0716
Single Kiasi
and Single Kiasi.
Cash Money.
Changing times at 2010. Hey, my 2 wives, bring them all via 0716 250 933. My name is Atieno, your host, every single day from 8 a.m. till 12 noon, right here in the AM with Atieno, exclusively on Baze by Sage, featuring Octopi IZZO. And before that was Malindi by Mvua. And it's exactly 38 minutes past 11 a.m. And in the studio with me is one of the biggest and amazing filmmakers that I've ever bumped into. His name is Philip Bresson. From Changing Times to My 2 Wives to Single Kiasi to Cash Money that we are talking about off air. Because tell me why one scene we are seeing this babe with mud. When I say mud, it's Netflix. Mud bunda. Nakapita tu. Done. We never saw her again up until right now, where we have the Chocolate Empire that is currently on Showmax.
Yes.
And before that short musical break, we were talking about Jimmy Gathu, because he's one of the lead actors in My Chocolate Empire.
Yeah.
And fun fact is, you helped Jimmy transform into this emotionally restrained guy, JB Mauzo. And I want to know as well, aside from that, you also taught him to be very expressive.
Yes.
So you've worked with the likes of Jimmy Gathu, as I've said, and also Brenda Wairimu.
Yes.
Can you walk us through your process of directing actors to get those raw and very real and authentic performances?
Okay. So the thing about it is, I like to get what I like to go in and get what I need and what we're going to use. So we make sure that we prep the actors very well. They need to understand their characters. We walk them through the character bibles. We walk them through, similar roles that have been played before, and then with a better understanding of how to deliver and how the wardrobe is going to be, how we want them to talk, what are the small mannerisms that they'll have. With all that out of the way, then we're able to now go on set and experiment. So sometimes the actors will come back and be like, okay, so I feel like maybe if I add a bit of this, it can give us this. And I'm like, okay, that will work, that will not work. And Grace Kahaki, who directs a lot with me, is a fantastic female director as well. We work closely together in just layering up our projects, right?
Yeah.
So for Jimmy's case, and Sana, who's also on the show, Jimmy, we shot with him, he was on Single Kiasi.
Yes.
He plays a dark character called Dixon. Sana was on Kashmani. She plays this fabulous Slay Queen wife. And the role on Kashmani is Gina. So the idea was we need to make sure that we layer up everything, and when Sana crosses over to Chocolate Empire, she's a completely different person.
Yeah.
When Jimmy crosses over from Single Kiasi to Chocolate Empire, a completely different person. And that's when you see the prowess of the director, right?
Okay.
Because then when you watch these characters, you're like, oh my God, those actors really did well.
Yeah.
I'm watching completely different people.
Yeah.
Sana is a slay queen on Kashmani. On Chocolate Empire, she's a saved mother.
Yeah.
And she's there, she's humble, the way she talks, just, her energy, everything. Jimmy does not smile on Chocolate Empire.
At all.
He has nothing to smile about. So he had to get into that space, and but it had to be within specific confines, because then if it went too far, it was then going to be the character on Single Kiasi. So and someone was like, oh my God, on Twitter now, someone was like, oh my God, Maze nimeona Jimmy ame play role kama ghost kwa Chocolate Empire.
Hey.
So I just smiled and I was like, aha.
This is what I wanted.
Yes, that's what we wanted. But we've had so much fun with that show. It's such an amazing show.
Yeah.
And I think the actors really stretched themselves trying to get in and pull off those roles. Now,
even Anne Muli.
Yes.
Hey.
Anne Muli is absolutely fantastic. We were really worried because, it's her first lead role.
Yeah.
But she did so well. And just so the thing was, someone on Twitter was complaining and saying, when Kashmani came out, they're like, I can feel and Grace, their shows are just always violence and sex and tararara. And no, it was the cuss words on Kashmani. So they're like, this whole thing is just cuss words and cussing. F this, F that,
yes.
And I responded and I said, when you're watching a Quentin Tarantino film, there's going to be blood gushing, there's going to be sex, there's going to be drugs. A lot of blood. So that's just the style. So, if you see directed by so-and-so, just know this is his style and these are the things that you're going to potentially see.
Yeah.
So for us, we like to be as raw as possible.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no way I can tell a story about a spiritual story and not show spirituality. There's no way I can tell a dark crime story and not show killings and blood
violence.
and violence and stuff like that. For us, we stepped out of that era a long time ago.
Yeah.
I think maybe even 2014, I was already telling Grace, we need to step out of this fake, I call it fake TV, where you're watching things and it's not real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how you feel.
So you feel.
Now, Chocolate Empire is a very huge milestone, and
Yeah.
it has positioned basically Kenyan content on a global stage
Yeah.
via Showmax.
Yeah.
Now, I'd love to know, what do you hope its legacy will be, both for us as Kenyan audiences
Yeah.
and also international viewers?
So the thing about Chocolate Empire is we were in between three projects. We were in between Single Kiasi, we were in between Kashmani and Chocolate Empire. Now there's pressure that Chocolate Empire looks different from Single Kiasi.
Yeah.
So we also, it being an adaptation, there's also pressure for us to outdo SA. In most cases, we do South African adaptations, but they end up looking worse than South African productions. So for us, number one, we did an adaptation that was South African, and we made it better than the South African version. So the look, the feel, the storylines, the actors, way better than the South African one.
Okay.
Number two, we told a local story, and that local story is the massage spa. I think we just talked about right now.
Yeah.
We talked about that right now. The massage spas you see in Kilimani when you're walking around, this is the basis of what this story is.
Yes.
And the third thing is we had to be bold enough to tell the story as is. And I mentioned that what makes the performances, and I'm not saying this to just add some flavor or like gas up the actors, but I think if the actors are winning anything, if any set of actors are going to win anything, it had to be the Chocolate Empire actors, because they've really brought it on in terms of the scenes, as you've seen. Maybe you've seen some snippets and stuff.
On Twitter, like some mad bunda. That's crazy.
Yes. So aside from the bunda, right? There's a whole performance thing that has to happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's preparation for that. There's a way it also has to be done to be tasteful.
Okay. Because
these are the things that we are afraid of when we do some of our content, right?
Yeah.
We don't want to do this kind of scenes and then it gets out there and then people are like, sasa walikuwa wanajaribu nini? And thank God we've not gotten any of that from episode 1 to, I think now we're on episode 5 going to 6. So the legacy that we would like to leave, we did it, and we did it so freaking well. And when you watch it, in most cases, what I've been asked is that a local show?
Yeah.
Most people ask, is that a local show? Yeah, until you maybe see a scene where someone is talking Swahili, or you see a face that you kind of can't recognize. Yeah. And then you're like, okay, makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, that's quite interesting. Now,
but like I said, if there's any award ceremony that's happening, actors who are supposed to take the awards has to be the Chocolate Empire actors.
People.
And if they don't, I'll probably pull a Kanye West on stage and
let me tell you
something. Talk some shit.
Tunaweza andamana tawe. Tumemiss vita kiasi yake. Now in the studio, we have been joined in by I don't know how I'm going to announce this, but if you ulizaliwa enzi yangu, there's something called Club Kiboko. And Jimmy Gathu was the Club Kiboko legend. And now he shines as a guy who does not smile at all. JB Mauzo in the Chocolate Empire. He has also done roles in Rafiki and also Single Kiasi. And fun fact about Jimmy, he started with a 8,000 Kenyan shilling salary. Am I lying?
No, you're not. It's true.
But then like 8,000 when Jimmy started.
Ni pesa mingi sana.
Maybe like 2M now,
It was a whole lot of money, and you're going to be getting deeper into Jimmy Gathu's role in the Chocolate Empire. JB Mauzo, once again, he does not smile at all. And when I say at all, he doesn't smile at all. And now he has transformed into this chill dad for his 3 daughters. So that is really, really nice. That is so nice. So if you have any questions regarding Jimmy Gathu, because if you know him, you know him, just use the hashtag in the AM with Atieno and send in your comments, your opinions, and your questions via 0716-250-933. Coming right up is Tattoo with Teso, alafu Afamefuna with Raindrops, Terian Iraqi. Enjoy. That is Teso by Tattoo, and it's exactly 9 minutes to 12 noon, and I hope your morning is better than mine. Let me know how it is via 0716-250-933. My name is Atieno, your host every single day from 8 a.m. till noon. In the AM with Atieno is the name of the show, exclusively on Baze Radio. And in the studio with me are 2 giants. Goods, for lack of a better word. I'm talking about a senior founder, that is Philip Bresson, and a legend, Tangu Enziza Club Kiboko, to acting in Rafiki, Single Kiasi, and currently right now, Chocolate Empire. His name is Jimmy Gathu. You can just check him on LinkedIn. Everywhere. He's everywhere. So back in the day, you were a household name,
but not on billboards. But
Utafika. So you are a household name, hosting Club Kiboko and also ruling the airwaves, right? So what inspired you to dive into acting, and how did your decades as a charismatic media personality shape the way you tackle complex roles like JB Mauzo on Chocolate Empire?
I think for me, it's the fact that I was I started in theatre. So I went through the teachings or the trainings of James Falkland, who basically then shaped my acting career in terms of on stage. So that did help, especially with lines and understanding characters very quickly. In terms of, I think being in media, I think it just helped in terms of visibility and the curiosity. Can this guy act?
Yeah.
But truth be told, I mean, acting for me is first a passion. I mean, I love acting. Money comes later.
Yeah.
And I see that people just say, yeah, but it's the truth. I mean, for me, it's, and Philip can tell you that. I don't even think I negotiated. He said, we're doing this later.
Yeah.
And why so exciting about this one is because I've had a chance to, of course, work with Phil and Grace before. And I can very categorically say that these two broke me. Because I've always done good guy scenes.
Yeah.
And then, Phil calls me for Single Kiasi and tells me, so we need you to do a character where you're going to be a little bit different, but I'm going to work on you. Okay. And I didn't take that work on you bit very seriously. I mean, I didn't think it would be that serious.
Yeah.
So it was actually difficult with Single Kiasi first, because that's when I was broken. I was now able to do very dark scenes.
And it was dark with a twist.
With a twist.
It's not your normal dark.
No, it's not. Yeah.
Kenyan thugs are like wanakonga by the shout.
So I couldn't shout. No, you can't shout. Every time I'd be angry, like, hey, turn it down.
Yeah.
For chocolate. And I think my biggest problem was smiling.
Yes.
And Phil kept cutting cuts. Say, Jimmy, you can't smile. Hey, I'm like, man. So even that in itself, in terms of what kind of when does JB show satisfaction or happiness or everything is okay? When is he angry? But more or less, when is he happy? That bit, oh my God. It took all of, I think, probably a week to be able to now get into the swing of things. Yeah. Because I love smiling. So you're being told you can't smile. You don't want to see your teeth. As Grace would say. So
yeah, and also another thing is, and this is why Jimmy is a genius, is there's a layer to the character. So when you look at him and when it has to feel layered. Okay. And with intention. Okay. So he's not just saying his lines, he's just not responding. He's feeling very many things and he can't smile.
Okay. And that is what I wanted to talk about, your character, because you're a man hiding secrets while you're wrestling and battling with family and crime. Then there's this big departure from your vibrant persona. So I'd love to know, how did you get into that mindset of such a guarded and a layer character? With Philip Bresson looking at you in my camera, do not dare show your teeth. Can you share like a specific scene where that restraint clicked in your head and how you drew from your own life to make it authentic?
So there was a scene. There were quite a number, but there's this particular one where I think it was in episode 4, if not 5, where I lose my cool with Clément. And in the first, we did the first take, I lost it. I mean, I went overboard, and so Phil waited for me to finish, and then he said, okay, now so that was good, but now we're gonna do it again. Okay, but this time I need you to bring it down. And then I need you to not show anger on your face. I want to see it in your eyes. Let me tell you, that's the most difficult thing I've ever done before. So, and we did, I think, almost like 5 or 6 takes. And Phil just kept saying, Bado. And here, so you're literally stifling anger. Yeah. I don't even know if I can relate it to my own personal life. But I ordinarily don't shout, but when I do get angry, I shout. I lose my cool. And so here I'm being put in a situation where it's not Jimmy Gathu at all. Yeah. It has to be JB. Mauzo. I think it was 6 or 7 takes. It says, not yet, Bado. Yeah. I can't see it in your eyes. I'm like, what are you looking for? It's like, I need to see it in your eyes. We did 6 or 7 takes. By the time we were done with that scene, I think we had another 12 to go.
Yeah.
I was like, but then again, into the swing of things. So it was pretty easy. Can I relate to JB? Yes. I mean, I grew up in Kariako Flats. JB grew up in the ghetto. You have this thing of I'm not gonna go back.
Yeah.
Unless to visit friends, and it's a thing with the guys who grew up in the ghetto. So I can relate to that. You make the mistake of saying I'm going to give my kids what I never had.
Yeah.
Same thing. So you've seen my kids drive serious cars on Chocolate Empire, and so in that aspect, yes, I can relate. In terms of the character. Like I said, these guys broke me. It wasn't easy.
So this is how well Jimmy played the role. Jimmy played the role so well that guys are watching and saying that they can only see him and Omari playing the role.
Ghost. Yes.
That's what guys have been tweeting, and that's what guys have been talking about.
Yes.
And that's why I keep saying that I feel like if there are any awards happening, and I repeat again,
wakusikie vizuri juu haja wakusikia.
These guys deserve their flowers because the switch up and just, if I think about even the last 18 years of the industry, or let's say 20 years of the industry that I've been in, just JB as a character, how complex that character is, I've not seen anyone pull a character like that off.
Yeah.
Never seen.
Yeah.
A guy who's cool, who's well put together, but very complex and very deep.
Yes.
And doesn't have to shout to
show his anger.
Show his anger. I don't think I've seen.
And you're not smiling as all.
Yeah.
In fact, it gets crazier. I think. So I think you've seen the cornered side, not Kabisa. It's getting there. There are some scenes again that confuses people where, in an ordinary situation, you'd be elated or you'd react. There'd be a reaction.
Yeah.
And that was another one. So I don't know if I can talk about this. So we have a scene with Anne.
Yes.
That one again, and the beauty of Insignia is how they make you comfortable. Because I've never done a scene like that before. And
the one
how
it,
yeah.
on the table.
Oh my goodness. that's this week, eh? Is it this week or next? Anyway, it's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Yeah.
And so I've never done a scene like that before. So first of all, obviously, extremely uncomfortable, very nervous. And then secondly, again, how do you be JB and not be excited about this situation? But also let somebody see, like, you're struggling between, should I do it? Should I? Oh my! Again, we shot that one almost 8-9 takes.
Yeah,
that one almost took a whole afternoon. That one was crazy.
Yeah. The wardrobe.
And it's like
the wardrobe
battle.
was,
Yeah. That wardrobe change that wardrobe. Yeah, we changed the wardrobe in the middle of the scene. It's like, no, it's not there. In fact, I think at some point, some of your colleagues are like, okay, Phil, Tosha.
Yeah.
And you're like, guys, Bado.
We have to get this in there.
We have to get it there, Bado. Oh.
And since like you're a calm person and Phil is like, I'll say he is calm, but a little bit kidogo polar opposite.
Another poteza.
Because polar opposite slightly. I'd just love to know about your collaboration with Philip Bresson, because he has a really, really interesting mantra.
Yeah.
That normal is boring.
Yeah.
Aside from that, he literally was there. He held your hands and taught you how to be very, very expressive. So at what point were you like, but they know you're actually doing too much. I'm not this type of a person. Feel.
No, can I just?
Yeah, because I don't think I'll say it better.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. Everybody is very well prepared. Everybody is well prepared for what's going to happen.
Okay.
Right? So what we do is we say we're going to have fun with this.
Okay.
Because by the time we put together the team and the actors, we are ready for the art.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, like day one, day two, when we're on set and you can feel the nervousness, right? But then there's an excitement.
Yes.
Because the script is already challenging me. It's going to challenge them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for us, it's a thing of like, let's have fun. And I think everybody knows that, if you don't feel that fear, then it's not challenging enough.
It's not challenging enough. It's not worth it, actually.
Yeah. So you need to feel that fear, because the scene that Jimmy is talking about, him and Anmuli, Jimmy just walked to me and told me, hey, this scene, and that was before we started shooting the scene, right? I was like, hey, that scene. And I told him, you know what? We'll get it.
Actually, you know what? For a second,
we'll get
I almost told him, I said, feel like but you saw it.
Yeah.
I almost told him.
I told him Jimmy will have fun with it, and we'll get it, and it's going to be really good.
And that is what we're going to talk about in the next few minutes, about your on-screen relationship with Anmuli's character, Lily. It's very intense and very layered. So how did you and Anne, who's Lily in Chocolate Empire, develop this chemistry, and what was the experience like filming those steamy scenes? We really need to know when we come back. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, Afa Mefuna by Raindrops, alafu Makinle featuring Mayonde with Get Wet. Hadi 12 in the AM. That nimepitisha kiasi because I have some interesting people in the studio. And before that short musical break, I was asking JB Mauzo, manamjua kama Jimmy Gathu, about his screen relationship with Anne Molly, who plays the character of Lily. And it's very, very intense and layered. And off air, they were talking about this scene about Yeye na Lily. So I'd love to know, how did you develop this chemistry, and what was the experience like filming those steamy scenes? Because according to Philip Bresson, Normal is very
boring, extremely boring. And I agree with him. I would not have been where I am if I did Normal. The stuff I used to do back then on television were things that people never thought were possible. I completely transformed how kids content was back then. So how did I fare? I mean, truth be told, so here's what I used to think. I used to think that you had to date. That's kudanganyi. So I used to think that you had to, date an actress, or you have to do some form of, you have to practice or something. That was my fear.
Yeah.
That's why I was so scared. I was like, now, so do I have to we have to practice kissing?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this guy was just like, Jimmy, don't worry, I got you. So how was it? It was so easily done because of how he directed it.
Yeah.
And all those fears I had about quote unquote practicing in changing rooms and so on didn't happen at all. And so truth be told, Anne Molly has her life and I have mine. That's the best way I can say it.
100%.
But on screen, when the magic is needed, Phil and Grace knew exactly what to ask for.
Yeah.
It's not easy to imagine that you can actually focus on a steamy scene on cue.
Yeah.
I never thought it was. I thought you really had to work on it, just like how I worked on my character. But this guy's made it so simple. So, once he says, okay, cut, print, well done, guys, it's done.
Yeah. And also, I'll add to this, I don't think you understand how complex of a director I am in terms of getting the shots and getting the right blocking and stuff. And that's why I keep saying these guys did amazing, right? So you can imagine us doing, there's a scene where he's playing golf, right?
Yeah.
She walks in and then they have this little moment and then he's whispering things to her and then she feels close and comes to kiss him, right? Now, aside from us making them very comfortable to do the scene, right? They have to keep the character. Aside from keeping character, they have to get my blockings, which are super crazy, right? My blockings are so complex to the point that if you even swing like this,
you've spoiled it.
That shot is not working out.
Yeah, you're doing it again.
Yes, it's not working out. So these guys are so professional and so good that they have to remember, I have to be within this space.
Yes.
Right? Because this is where it has been locked, right?
Yeah.
On top of that, I have to do a 1-2 step, move in for the kiss, right? Then I have to react in this way and do it over and over and over.
Okay.
And sometimes I'll be like, no, we've not gotten it there.
Yeah,
we have to keep punching in. But at the same time, being comfortable. So
man.
Like the performances and them getting it.
It's crazy. I'd forgotten the golf scene, man.
Yeah.
Yaani umefanya mingi mpaka ume.
So there's a funny story. There's a funny story on set. There's a funny story. Jimmy was shooting this scene with an actor. I'll not say who, but we're shooting this scene with this actor. And I'd done the markings on the floor. So the actor akachanganyikiwa to the point akona jo atakuja simame wapi na aseme line wapi. You know what I'm saying? But that just goes to show that acting, you kind of have to be a genius to be an actor. And performances are not a joke, especially if you're working with a director who knows exactly what to get and when to get it. Yeah, and that's why even on set, we are sometimes 3 directors, but Jimmy knows that, I'll come in for the more complex scenes. Yeah, because then I'm really, that's what excites me, and that's what I'm trying to get these performances and more complex scenes going on and stuff like that.
And it's a unity, it's a union.
Yeah,
you have to be in tune with your director.
Yes, okay.
You have to know what he wants. You have to know when he says this, when he wants you to depict a certain emotion. You have to understand it. You have to be so in tune.
Yeah.
Like he says, it's like, so Jimmy, don't move out of that frame. I can't see the frame.
Yeah.
But I know what he means.
So now you imagine how hard it is. He wants to, he feels like his reaction is going to be better if he does that.
Yeah.
But now he can't do that.
Yeah.
Now how else is he going to give me that reaction and still
Imagine.
be here? So things like that. That's what I'm saying. These guys, in the way we created the world for Chocolate Empire, their performances out of this world, man.
Now, when we come back, I would love to know, since, working with Jimmy Gathu as JB was basically a highlight of the show Chocolate Empire.
Yeah.
What's one thing you've learned working with Jimmy, not JB? These are 2 different people. Okay? With Jimmy Gathu, maybe about storytelling. He was a good storyteller back in the day. Up until now, please do go back.
I will.
And how is it? What have you learned from him based on collaborating with him, or probably maybe acting that you might carry into your next project? We will talk about that in the next few minutes. But coming right up is VB featuring Watenda Willy with Amanda. Enjoy. That is Esium Gavi featuring Dr. Rain with Wagwan. And coming right up as we wind up today's show is DJ Mura KE, Big Nyags, Costa Ojuang, and Yeah Listen with Regea, because it's exactly 26 minutes past 12 noon. And my name is Atieno, your host every single day from 8 a.m. till 12 noon. You can get me on social media, on TikTok and on Instagram only at I am Atieno. And as we wind up, we just want to know one personal takeaway from working with Jimmy Gathu that you might take on your next project. Probably even Cash Money and Umesema ni Limited.
Sindio?
Hey, inaniuma but ni sawa.
Unanitetea.
So I would say that Jimmy has to be the first actor I ever worked with who was able to really switch up. You see, for women, it's easier because we can give them wigs.
Yeah.
We can give them a different makeup, and the actor will start to feel different, right?
Yeah, true.
For men, the canvas that you have is who you are. The most we can do is maybe try give you some clues.
Yeah.
Right?
And the hair.
And the hair. You understand?
Yeah.
But the rest of it is purely on talent. So for Jimmy, the crossover from watching Kina, and I was telling you guys just now, I had to watch a lot of Kina for me to understand where we can push him and where he would be and his angry scenes and stuff,
Yeah.
And I watched the angry scenes on Kina. They were good scenes. But I knew getting him on Single Kiasi, I'd require him with a certain kind of push, right? A certain kind of edge, a certain kind of performance. So studied him on Kina and then came on Single Kiasi, and he can tell you actually his first scene he did on Single Kiasi, we threw him in the deep end and we shot it. I didn't give him too much direction, but I was mostly observing, because then I was trying to study and learn. How he would take a direction, how he would move, da-da-da-da-da. And then I was like, okay, sawa. We would tampata on the second day too. So for me, he's the only actor that I've worked with and given him edgy roles, and he's been able to deliver.
To the T.
And considering that I do know his personality, look, Jimmy anapenda kucheka, man.
Yeah.
Jimmy loves laughing. Jimmy is a happy soul, right? And here I am telling him, I want you to play dark.
Yeah.
Like really dark.
On set, he couldn't even so the scenes he's supposed to slap and choke me, we had to call him on the side and give him a pep talk and tell him, Jimmy, it's fine.
I had refused to do
You're
it.
just
Yes.
acting.
Oh my goodness.
Jimmy's like, I've never laid my hands on a woman
woman.
before.
Yeah, it's not
It's
you,
not
is
me.
Dixon.
And we'd have to be like, okay, that's cool.
Oh
and
my
and give him like 40 minutes to try and switch there.
Yeah.
Right? So knowing that that's the human being, and then now the person that he's trying to play as a character, he has absolutely been able to really switch, and I've not worked with anybody else who's been able to give me that
that's
type of range. Yeah.
Oh, that is so nice.
Yeah.
So, Jimmy,
Yeah.
you're thriving at the age of 55. With roles
Check,
like...
you've done your homework, man. What?
you're thriving with roles like JB Mauzo. So what's next for you? Do you dream of producing your own show, taking on a completely different character, probably even a politician, I don't know, or maybe mentoring through a media academy? What do we expect? Probably if 50 years imebaki before you hit 100.
Right. Probably right. There's some that I've shared with Phil and Grace.
Okay.
Not so sure about directing, but more acting. And yes, I really would like to pass on to the younger generation.
Okay.
I've done that for so many years, so it's innate in me to just continue doing that.
Yeah.
So in terms of training and motivating and inspiring the younger generation to be better. So a lot of that, and actually in the very near future, hopefully before the end of the year.
Okay, kutakuwa na maneno makubwa
kuna
aside
mambo
from
yanafanyika.
Chocolate Empire, and probably even win an award for it, or
Yeah.
even let's just manifest it, working with Ghost. You don't know.
So we had a very interesting conversation.
Oh, you guys met?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And we hope, sometimes you imagine maybe it was just show for here. You never know.
Yeah, you never know.
But let's see. But that was a very interesting conversation in terms of just acting skills and how to develop and grow yourself as a business as well, the realities of the business. So it was a very interesting conversation. The one person I'd like to do a movie or a series with, actually, funny enough, it's actually not even Omari Hardwick. It's what's his name? The original Fred Tandala. What's his name?
The South African guy.
Yeah. It's called Lomle Dandala.
Yeah. That's the person you want to work with.
I would love to do, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
The funny thing is, because we met many years before. He was a presenter on a channel called Channel O. I was a presenter on KTN. We're both doing music. We had Jericho.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have a background. And I really
was on Channel O.
Yes.
Oh.
He had dreadlock. He had Jericho.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so of course, if Omari Hardwick calls and says, hey,
Of course.
what am I saying?
Who are you to say no? So, Philip, you've done a lot of shows like, the Breakthrough in 2010 when you're only 20, when you're directing it, Changing Times, which was an award-winning drama, and also like a launching career for Brenda Wairimu. At the same time, in 2016, Mina graduate form 4. You were tackling betrayal in New Beginnings.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we also have in 2018, when I'm in college, we had something called My Two Wives, and it was also a Kalasha Award winner. Multiple shows that you've done, socialites to comedy in Arnold and Bundi.
Yeah.
What should we expect next?
So, so right now I feel like we would just like to be in a sustenance period. We would like to sustain Chocolate Empire. We would like to sustain Single Kiasi for a bit longer. And then we want to start working on independent projects.
Okay.
Yeah. So if it means we go to SA and go to Nigeria and with a lead Kenyan actor, we do that. That is now what's in the plan for next year.
Okay.
Yeah. If we can do a insignia production, shoot in different places, do different things, that is what we are planning.
Oh.
But let me just say that I think, like I said before, we've been the most culturally influential, right, filmmakers in the country.
Yeah.
Because when we started Changing Times, there was like shows like, at the time there was Akina Papa Shirandula and stuff like that. Now, no offense to those shows, really good shows.
Yeah.
But, they're not export-worthy shows, right? So when we did Changing Times, this show was like, it was the first time you'd watched an aspirational thing. When you watch it, you're like, this could be like an American show, this, anyone else from anywhere else, part of the world could watch. The way we used to watch South Africa, Jacob's Cross.
Yes.
Remember we used to watch Jacob's Cross and like, it looks so, South Africa looks amazing.
True.
So that's what Changing Times was. And that was 2008, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously we went on to do other shows, but with the same kind of, with the same, how do I put it, with just always wanting to do the best. I think that's what we've done with Chocolate Empire, that's what we've done with Single Kiasi, that's what we did with Cash Money. The level of production, the way they look, things like that. Like Single Kiasi, for example, is watched across like so many African countries. Yeah. It's a big African show. It's not a Kenyan show. It stopped being a Kenyan show a long time ago. So for us, it's just to try and tell Kenyan stories in Africa and to the world. So hopefully we'll get there and we have amazing talent to support Vision.
Season 2, Cash Money, Season 2, Chocolate Empire, when?
Yeah, for sure. We're really looking forward to working on Chocolate Empire already. We are excited that, it's making the kind of moves it's making.
Okay.
So not sure about Cash Money because we also wanted to do episodic 6 episodes, wrap it up, go to another 6 episodes. That was a strategy that we had. But for Chocolate Empire, Single Kiasi, sustenance for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as we end up with Jimmy, from living in Kariako Flats to earning 8,000 salary.
Guys, Jimmy asiwambia about earning 8,000, guys.
Back in the days, it was 2 million.
Jimmy was the only, who's the first TV famous presenter?
Akuna, it's Jimmy, literally.
Is there anybody else, Jimmy?
Akuna.
Who was not a news
Actually,
anchor?
he's right. So,
who's not a news anchor?
Yeah. True.
Yeah, you're the first. There's no one else.
Truth be told, so if you remember, I had just done the Matatu video.
Okay.
And I was paid quite.
What was that song?
So Much to Live For. And I was paid quite handsomely for it. So much so that I didn't kula my KTN salary for a year.
Ish, that's a lot.
And I'm nasikia 8,000.
8,000 tunalia hapa.
Usiposhika salary for 1 year, do you know how much money
you made? Like huko tu umechila hata si lazima uende job.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So basically from humble beginnings to the Chocolate Empire, what's one piece of advice that you can give probably somebody listening to you who also wants to do something like Club Kiboko, then become a media personality, then transition to becoming an actor who's playing a very different role from who he is personally? So what just give me one piece of advice to our Baze Radio listeners.
Don't slow yourself down. Don't ever think anything is impossible. And also at the same time, don't be in a hurry to do things.
Yeah.
Don't be in a hurry to be JB Mauzo. Don't be in a hurry to be Phil Bresson. It took so many years. I mean, Phil started doing stuff from way back when.
Yeah, when I was in class 6.
Exactly. So
I had you the first.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Every step, every mistake you make is a lesson.
Yeah.
I don't take mistakes or negatives as such. I say they're just lessons learned.
Yeah.
And every journey, every experience is an experience where you learn and confirm things.
Yeah.
And it takes time. If I thought that I had reached as an actor after Kina, You can imagine
I've seen the
exactly
performances, the absolutely amazing performances.
And be ready to be challenged.
Yes.
Be ready to be challenged because that is proof of yourself that you can do it.
Okay. That is so nice. Thank you so much, Jimmy.
So before you wind up, can we officially say that Jimmy Gathu is the first Kenyan public figure? Mm-hmm. Can we say that? Officially?
About the first. Who's not a newscaster. Yes, I think so.
Did you do Jamadelic before the Nini video? The
Matatu video. After. So the Matatu video gave birth to everything. So the bosses of K10 came for the launch of the Matatu video.
Okay.
And they said, hey, we've got we have something we want to start on K10 and we think you're the guy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you come. That's how I got into media.
Wow.
I think, because when I look at people I used to look up to, like Sam Madoka, who used to do a music show called This Is It, but was also a news reader.
Yes.
Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that would be it. So in terms of somebody who did entertainment and became a larger-than-life figure, I think that would be it.
So you're the one.
Yeah.
He's the first.
I didn't even think about it.
Yeah. So we should be talking about an icon award is what we should be talking about.
As long as you're acting, just an icon award and that's it. Like you truly deserve it.
Because everybody else was a newscaster, when I remember correctly.
Man. I remember. So our boss was called, the owner of KTN at that time was called Jared Kangwana. Mm-hmm. And those days you could not read news without a tie.
Yeah.
And all of us went through that training. Even I was trained as a newsreader. Mm-hmm. And there were also moments when I sat in for newsreaders who were unwell or something. But I could never go with that because I'm like, how do you it? Let me tell you, that man would call and say, call the studio and say, tell that young man to get out of my studio unless he wears a tie. Can you imagine?
Heavy.
But thank you so much for coming, Philip.
Thank you for having us and asking the right questions.
Yes.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Very prepared, very great research.
People confuse 54, 53, 57.
Great research.
But thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
So you just don't have to mention that you were 13 when you were,
11. No, 11. I insist. In class 6.
You were 11?
Yes, when he was starting his thing. 11.
Yeah.
Crazy. But it's so amazing seeing you guys doing whatever you're doing, especially Jimmy, because you're doing something that I'm doing and it's media.
Yeah.
You're really an icon and you deserve that award more than anybody else.
He does.
You shouldn't stop dancing.
Tutonge off air.
I've seen you dance. Do you remember? You didn't even notice I was watching.
Yeah, tutonge off air.
She's being humble.
Yeah, I mistake your award, lakini nikupe your award and I appreciate it. Anyway, I was your host Atieno. Tutapatana kesho, same time, same place, from as early as 8 a.m. up until 12 noon, right here on the Baze Radio in the AM with
and just, everybody, please, if you can't get on Showmax, subscribe and watch. Make sure you watch Chocolate Empire. The performances are insane. The story is killer. The acting is A1.
The cinematography is out of this world.
Yes.
You will be entertained and you will fall in love and you will cry and you'll feel a lot of different emotions.
And you can maybe be JB in real life. You don't know. Exactly. Somebody who doesn't smile. Anyway, thank you so much for coming. I was your host Atieno. Tutapatana kesho, same time, same place, from 8 a.m. up until 12 noon, right here in the AM with Atieno. And with that being said, as we wind up, is a DJ Mura KE featuring Big Nyags, Costa Ojuang, and Yeah Listen with Regea. Have yourselves a lovely day.
This is Baze Radio.
We are 254 to the core.